Alright, I'm gonna get this out of the way so I don't forget about it later. D-Boss is a freaking newbie. Oh my god. He's the newbiest mother effer in the world. No one talks to him if he ever complains about balance or skill or anything because he's a total newbie. Alright, 15-second mark, 1x speed. Fog of War on SK HeMan's point of view. The usual. That was a suppressed yawn right there. It's only 9:20. So, I shouldn't yawn a lot. I'm gonna crack my back right now and get on with the show. So, giving you a short time to sync up. That was nice. Okay. HeMan's blue and DeadMan's using that hacker green. Whatever. Okay, so now that we're at 15 seconds, let's go ahead and do the unpause thing, because you can, and it's Gosu, and etc. So, if you are not at the 15-second mark yet, then pause the commentary, and then get yourself there on the replay, and then, press the pause key on the replay, Alt-tab back out to Winamp or whatever, and then start the commentary, and then, go back to the replay, and then unpause and all that crap. Okay, so, let's go ahead and unpause. You should probably have your sound off as well and whatnot. Let's unpause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. And I don't seem to have sound on for myself, so that's good. It's been a little while since I did my last audio. The one that you probably heard just a few days ago was recorded, weeks ago because, we were out of server space until we could get our host and whatnot, and then when, WCR went down and all that fun stuff. But now we're back, and we have that cool host, so less than 3 to you. I forget who you are. Yeah, it's always a good thing to, forget you're a courteous host, but you know who you are. And just so he doesn't get flooded with PMs, because that can be very annoying. I guess I'll leave you anonymous, but, anyway, many less than 3s to you, if you are indeed listening to this. So we're approaching the 1 minute mark, and we can see HeMan's standard build. Yeah, so if you don't get yawns, you get coughs. That's something you probably would have noticed if you listened to me at WC3A. I coughed every minute and a half because I had this horrible vicious cold that sucked. But, whatever. So he's scouting with a militia so that he knows if he needs to tower if his opponent's doing some kind of tech build. It's always dangerous to do Huntress or a tech build on this map because you are susceptible to being towered. If you saw UC versus Rival Showtime, the only reason UC didn't win with his tower rush is because he forgot to focus down the AP for the 5th time. He did win later on, but that's one of the things, is that if they go for a Huntress build or a tech build and they're next to you, if they don't have a Nation of War up by the time your militia comes, you can rush them and win. Just rally all your footmen and militia, start up on a lumber mill, keep 3 at least on wood, and make tertiary peasants, keep making more, and then you send 3 to 4 militia with your 2 footmen, your archmage. You keep queuing out footmen, and you rush them, and they die pretty much right then because you can kill their AOW before it comes up with all those militia. You just have to make sure that you can ignore the DH to an extent, and he's going to lose his water metal to the Wisp of GG, and even hits it with his archmage. Way to go, HeMan, you are a retard. Alright, so HeMan's running up. He sends his archmage in the lead, so that as his units finish it up, he can, lure out the creep so he has a little bit of room to run away, and then puts out the water metal. So as you can see what he's doing right there, it lets him see that there's the DH coming, and when the DH does come, he's got a lot of room to run away. And so seeing that militia are usually prime targets, he's gonna try to get them out of there as fast as possible, and managed to do that pretty well. You saw that the Wisp dispelled the water metal, and it'll give the DH 42 free experience. But it's at the cost of a Wisp, so, no big loss because he managed to creep out the camp just fine. Unfortunately, he did lose mana on his Archmage, which isn't great, of course, as well. But overall, life goes on. That was decent for HeMan. So now what DeadMan's trying to do is pretty much knock out that Archmage, which he actually could have sort of done right there, except for the footman coming in to surround, and the militia did nothing, but there you go. It was pretty much they were a measure in case that the DH followed in, you block with the footman, and then the militia come in and do actual damage while the DH is stuck in there. And so we see this peasant sort of running around to the back of the base and seeing what DeadMan was doing, which was a AOW tech build, I believe. No, just kidding, it's a Huntress build, but then a later tech. So pretty much what he did is get himself 1 archer in case of a rush, and then switch up immediately to Huntresses. And so what that does is in case of a tower rush, which HeMan can always do on this map, he gets a fast AOW, because you never want to be caught surprised by, you know, when it's a big tournament like this, you have to be sure of every precaution, because, I mean, if you looked at Mad Frog versus Fav Game 1, Mad Frog, you know, sold his TP and tower rushed, you know, in Undead Mirror. You have to be ready for those kind of things. And especially if it's a one-game series, which this wasn't, but I mean, in case of that, you know, that could be an instant just free win because you're not ready for it. And so what he needs to do is, you know, he gets himself a fast AW, because you never know if you're gonna, you know, if you're really gonna get towered, he's gonna really come after you. And, you know, suddenly there's, you know, two Rex footies and 3 towers coming up, and if you're not ready for that, you know, you could lose. And that's a real shame to, you know, lose game 1, because now your opponent's gonna get map choice for game 3. And, you know, that's the important game, and if they get map choice, you know, if they pick a HeMaN map and you're not elf, you're pretty much screwed. So, you know, you have to be sure that, you know, you're not susceptible to being towered, especially with Night Elf, and even with any other race, but, you know, Night Elf in particular, because their workers don't actually fight. So, you know, with the fast AOW done, meaning that he's not getting towered, and then, you know, switching up to Huntresses, because Huntresses are actually good units versus HeMaN. You know, that's what he's doing, and making sure he's in good shape and all that jazz. So, as for what's going on now, he's going to be starting his tier 2 buildings. As you can see, he's going to be starting a Arcane Sanctum and immediately canceling that. He has 2 peasants that he can get out the casters quickly, because he saw that his opponent was tiering to... Actually, no, he didn't. Well, yeah, now you can see his opponent's tiering to tier 2 because he brought that peasant out. But he was trying to get casters out quickly so that he could push off his opponent. But now you can see Lightning Shield plus Immolation is thanks. You can see he's militiaing and running them away, trying to minimize his deaths. He's doing actually quite well with them. He has not lost anything yet. So now we see 1 kill so far. And he pops the scroll of Healy thing so that, you know, the units that are injured can still heal up a little bit and not get surprise kills from Huntress bounces. And right now what he's trying to do is pretty much knock it on by Lightning Shield. So he's kind of staying back, letting the DH take some hits. Okay, fine, he's losing some gold income. But he's doing his best to, you know, not lose anything, get the Lightning Shields to wear off so that he can actually win some fights later on. And, you know, force his TP and etc. Now, DeadMan did make a big mistake by losing that one Huntress. That, you know, that combined with losing the TP made that fight bad for him, because he also used some Lightning Shield charges, and now he has to eat up Moonwells and all that. You know, he did get, you know, like 3 peasants and a footman, which is definitely good. You know, that's 115 experience, which is good. You know, you saw it got his DH up to level 2. While the Archmage is level 3. You got level 3 from a Huntress, and that's bad. The longer you can keep your HeMaN opponent from getting to level 3, the better chance you have, because level 2 Water Elementals, they own Huntresses, and if you don't want to burn through 3 Wisps every fight, you know, which is acceptable, but you know, you also don't want to have to. You only want to be able to, you only want to have to use 2, obviously. You know, but 3 will be a free kill, and it'll, you know, knock out 150 mana off the Archmage, and etc. But, you know, the longer you can keep his heroes low level, the better chance you have, because level 2 Water Elemental's own Huntresses, you can see right here that he has no way of actually killing the WE with 1 armor and, you know, almost 700 hit points. That's incredibly hard to actually kill, and so, you know, he's not having any of that. And now what DeadMan should have done is gone Frost Arrow, because Frost Arrow actually allows you to pick off units. Now he's doing some decent damage with Forked Lightning, but, I mean, HeMaN just chewed through a regeneration scroll prior to that battle. You know, he just ate a regeneration scroll after that hit point, or after that harass, and Forked Lightning isn't going to do anything for you anymore, because HeMaN, you know, units, they can run around and they'll be in good shape. So what he did is pretty much just, you know, waste that harassment attempt, because, you know, he had Huntresses, you know, he had Archers, he had his second hero out before HeMaN, and if he could have actually used that advantage to do something, you know, like, you know, actually pick off some units, he'd be in better shape, but he just completely wasted it. So now what you can see is countering the Night Elf very annoying bear build. And, so, what he's doing right now is getting him his lumber mill for the guard towers. You can see he has 3 ivory towers right now. He picks up the Naga Sea Witch because it's less vulnerable to Frost Arrow and to Mana Burn, because it's faster, and Frost Arrows costs a whopping 10 mana. So he's plopping down the towers, and he's going to be essentially killing his opponent with towers. So, he doesn't have a ton of wood yet, but, he has some, and he's going to be seeing that, the DH is hurting him. He doesn't have enough wood to upgrade any more towers besides the first one, but he's going to focus on the Huntresses because they have the highest damage per hit point. Druids of the Claw do not have any sort of damage type deficit, and, they're not as quick, they don't have as many hit points, but, they don't have the damage type that rifles would give them. So, and they don't have that bounce attack and whatnot. So, the best thing for HeMaN is to knock out the Huntresses that are going to be harassing in and out, and then go after the Claws afterwards. And as you can see, Frost Arrow, combined with Rifleman Focus Fire and Water Elementals and, Brilliance Aura, it owns. Now you can see that he's, he has peasants with him so that he can help build the towers up, or repair them, but, by not reacting quickly, you get owned. Now one thing you pretty much have to do when you're towering like ever, turn on autocast repair. It is the most valuable tool because you're going to be microing like a fiend on both sides of the tower rush, or just towering in general, because you want to make sure you're close to your towers, and you want to make sure you're killing the towers of the other team, or you're doing this and that and the other thing, and have one last step of choosing peasants and right-clicking a tower, and each one that gets injured, that just takes away from micro time that you're watching your heroes or your units or whatever, and that's you can just completely save that by just turning on autocast repair, and they'll repair anything and keep everything in tip-top shape, and no job's too small, they'll just go after it instantly. So you can see that DeadMan's doing very well in trying to chase off his opponent's hero, and knowing exactly what limits he can go to with what he has with the rejuvenation on to keep himself in good shape. But you just saw that he had a bad rally point and wasn't looking, and lost a Dryad to towers, which is one of the good things about towers, is that they're indiscriminate in the fact that if a unit comes by, they're going to start killing it, and you don't have to micro them because they auto attack. You can't micro them because they can't move, but their damage is really high, so they're useful no matter how you use them. So HeMan's doing quite well with his towers. Again, DeadMan is not watching, and he's about to lose a Druid of the Claw. He's going to turn on Rejuve and run, but you're a noob, and loses it. Which, again, this is some of the mistakes that you force when you tower, is, they're pressured to, kill what you have, and if they can't, then they're screwed, because they won't be able to knock out towers very easily. But DeadMan sees that he's got a Claw coming, and he decides to tank the tower because he knows that he's going to have some rejuvenation coming. And it works out. He gets one of the towers, going to focus on the second one. Now, you notice what he did is he forced the TP on the Archmage, because the only time you're really going to be able to get rid of towers very easily, because, they deal so much damage, is to force the army away and then kill it, with your DH on crack and whatnot. And, what HeMaN did, he's like, look, I know that I can't be allowed to lose my hero, so I'm going to TP. I'm going to burn through a healing potion, or a regeneration scroll. I'm going to get there as quickly as I can. If I had a speed scroll, I'd use it, And he just gets there, as quickly as freaking possible, so he can get back there and support that last tower, because he knows that his towers are going to die very quickly if he doesn't, come in there and, start repairing them and supporting them with, his actual standing army. And so, he TPs because he has to, and then he comes back there as quickly as possible. Now you can see just how much Spellbreakers are a very good choice. You can see that it goes to Rejuvenation on the Sorceress. GG, I think so. You can see why Spellbreakers, really Spellbreakers are good against bears for really two reasons. One, they have that damage type, or the extra damage bonus with feedback, and two, they steal Rejuvenation. If your opponent is allowed to constantly use Rejuvenation, you will get owned. It heals more than Priests by a lot, and it turns the DH into the DH on crack, which owns HeMaN. It really can own HeMaN very easily. But what HeMan's doing is, he's got the Spellbreakers ready to autocast Spell Steal at Rejuve out, and he's got, Frost Arrow and, Slow, just, making that DH that, when he's not being healed, he's able to be killed because he can't run. And so, he's really trying to knock out the DH on crack. And as you can see, Spell Steal instantly, takes off that healing effect and gives it to a Water Elemental. Yay! But, you can see how much level 2 Brilliance owns. He's got, 2 Water Elementals up. He just had 3, but one of them timed out. So, you can have a lot of summons when you've got a level 2 Brilliance. And it makes a Naga own really hard too, because her mana regens off the wall, which allows you to cast Frost Arrows a ton, and then use Forked Lightning a lot more freely. So, pretty much, the I mean, there's not a lot of complexity in this. Now it's just kind of a micro war, and making sure that you're, stealing the rejuvenation and making sure you're repairing your towers, and you've got some priests that you can actually heal yourself up, when you're not relying on spell steal, and make sure that you have summons and some form of slowing, because pretty much if Night Elf has freedom of movement, they'll pretty much beat you, because they're so good with their movement, and when it's a high level player, they're so good at knowing their breakpoints that they can always, or almost always, keep their units alive and still manage to kill very well, because they know exactly what they're doing and how long they can stay and everything, and how much rejuvenation they'll heal over time and how much they can take. Because as you saw just a few minutes earlier, when he was sending his DH and his Naga against the Archmage and Naga, and the DH was constantly below 50 hit points, but he knew exactly how much he could take, and he knew exactly how much Rejuve would heal. And if he hadn't casted that Forked Lightning 1 second too early, he would have gotten that Naga kill a little bit earlier, or whatever he was going after. And his DH still didn't die. He got away at 20 hit points, got healed as he got hit by an Archmage potion or Archmage hit, and still lived and whatnot. And so he knows just how much he can take, and when you're good at that, you can do a lot of good things. Now, so this is you may be sort of asking why he's really getting Sorks when there's Dryads, and he could use a couple more priests or rifles for some damage. Priests not for the damage, they're for healing, obviously. Rifles for the damage, or priests for healing, or spellbreakers for damage or tanking. It's because he wants a form of slowing that can actually knock out the DH on Crack, or the Warden, or sorry, Naga Sea Witch. Because if you don't have some way of immobilizing their units, like I was saying, you will not be able to kill them if they're smart. They just won't die because they're good at what they do and they know what they can take. And you see, DH hits 4, he's just climbing up levels. And he's about to lose the Archmage like a retard. Yes, let's get hit by the Ancient of War, tard. Okay. So he needs a form of slowing. He knows that he's got better mana regen than the Dryads because he's got Brilliance Aura. He also knows that slow, it costs as much as, Abolish Magic. But, even if you only have slow on for 1 second, at least that's something you've got going on. Now, he was retarded and lost his Archmage, but of course he gets the DH for it, so that's okay. But, even if you just slow for 1 second, it's at least something. And, it'll slow down the DH, it'll bring him a couple of feet closer overall. And it's still useful to do that. And so now, realizing that he's finally knocked out the DH, you notice that suddenly the front line just died and he's allowed to run in. You see how much that hero actually matters, is that once you knock out the DH, look what happens since he knocked out the DH. He's got free reign over the base. If the DH are still alive, he'll still be harassing, and, harassing with the Frost Arrow and Slow Poison, he's able to knock out stuff very easily. Because what Night Elf counts on when they're doing this sort of bear tech kind of thing is, it's only had like 2-3 Huntresses, 2-3 Archers tops. Sorry, even though it's like 9 p.m., I'm still yawning. I got up at noon today, or like 11:30, and I'm still yawning. It's pretty sad. I don't know what to tell you. And so it gets the GG. But what Night Elf relies on when they're doing this build is that they don't have a lot of tier 2 strength, but they have slowing. They've got Rejuvenation, they've got Cold Arrows, they've got Slow Poison, they've got Forked Lightning, and they've got the DH. I'm not sure if I said that. And they've got Rejuve, which I know I said. Which means that they can go around and, while they're getting tier 3, they can pick off your entire army. Forked Lightning, Mana Burn, though we got ammo this time, so, Forked Lightning, ammo, Frost Arrow, Slow Poison, Rejuvenation, you're not going to lose anything, and you're going to guaranteed kill stuff with your 2 forms of slowing. I will guarantee you, if you micro it right, or your opponent micros it right, you or him, are going to lose something, depending on who's elf, and if they're good, they will kill something, because even if you try to do Stormbolt, they've got Rejuvenation, and if they see you've got a Mountain King, they can get a Staff Teleportation, and they're fine. They're not the units that are dealing with real damage, they're there to tank, and, deal some, decent damage, but your Pierces and your Siege are going to be dealing the actual damage, and so, you want